What is up, YouTube? My name is Joystick. I am back. I haven't dropped a video in months, I realize that, but now that Overwatch 2 has been released and the launch is here, the game is out, I kind of want to start getting back into the YouTube scene. So today's video is going to be an Overwatch 2 tank tier list video. I'm going to be ranking all the tanks on the tier list, and based off my top 500 and Grandmaster knowledge, but I also will try to keep the tier list, you know, a little more neutral and revolve around like all the elos of Overwatch ranked. So let's hop right into this. So right off the bat, I'm gonna throw D.VA right into S tier. We're gonna start at the top here. D.VA is the best tank in Overwatch 2. I think it's pretty obvious from what they're running in Overwatch League, and even from like my experience playing in ranked so far, D.VA is really strong. They buffed her in a bunch of different places, so her booster damage is more, her spread on her primary fire was increased, and then also your micro missiles do a bit more damage. I think Matrix was adjusted a bit, not 100% sure on that, but regardless, D.VA is really strong, you know, especially in like this meta where it's like a lot of projectile, a lot of like damage that's going to be in the air through like Echo, a lot of tracers, you know, you got to eat the pulse bombs. Ana's pretty good, so you got to eat those nades as well. So if you're looking for just a solid, really strong, borderline OP tank, like you want to be locking D.VA. Let's talk about A tier. We're going to bring in ZARYA now. So this is like kind of a pick that I didn't expect to actually make it this high on the tier list, but I would say ZARYA is like not even like A+ tier. I would say like ZARYA is like A tier. Like she's really strong. She's good at what she does. You know, if you're able to maintain high energy, which you can now very much easier with having 2 bubbles available to you now in Overwatch 2, ZARYA is just really strong in that aspect. So you know, you can protect your backline, you throw a bubble on them, or you can throw a bubble on your DPS who's getting, you know, trying to win a duel, or you can use both bubbles on yourself, or 1 bubble on yourself and 1 bubble on your teammates. There's so much like opportunity to like protect your team or enable them to pop off even harder. At the same time, you're like 100 energy, and ZARYA is scary when you're at 100 energy. You're building up that graviton surge, and if you're able to stay alive through most of these fights, you're going to be building grav really fast, and you can really just take over a game and start carrying really hard with this hero. So I think ZARYA is a bit underrated, and I don't know if most people would have put ZARYA here at this top, basically at the top, but I think she is that good. So moving on, we're going to bring in Sigma, actually next is A tier. So Sigma is like, I almost wanted to maybe put him at like B- tier, maybe A- tier, but I think he is pretty strong overall. He has a very like balanced, not necessarily balanced, but very just like, you know, a very solid kit. You know, he just has a little bit of everything. You got a shield, right? You can protect your teammates that way. And then you have your Gravitic Flux, which is your ultimate, which is basically like kind of like Graviton Surge, but like in a bigger area. You can get a lot of work done with his ult, and then you can eat damage with his kinetic grasp. So it's like he has a Matrix almost. You know, you're gonna be eating pulse bombs, on grenades, just like how D.VA kind of is as well. But I just think Sigma just does a little bit of everything. You know, his primary fire is just insane. Like if you're just constantly taking high ground and poking the enemies with it, like you're probably gonna get a lot of kills on your own. So, and that's what you want to be doing as a tank, is like finding those individual picks and individual plays to pop off so your team can actually win. So I think Sigma is just a solid tank, you know, all around, all across the board. His kit is good. So I'm gonna bring in my boy REINHARDT at around, I'd say like A- tier, like B, borderline B+. I threw him in A because I think he is like generally underrated. And I was a little skeptical at first of like, is Rein going to be even good in Overwatch 2? He wasn't very great in Overwatch 1. We all know that. You just get destroyed by the CC, and then you just get blown up. But in Overwatch 2, there's like no CC. So like you can actually like go in and like hold W and actually like pin into their team. Like the most they can do is like Ana sleep dart you, and if they're not even running an Ana, like you could just kind of pin into their backline. You can cancel, not to mention that you can cancel your pin now at any point in the duration of the pin, which is so insane. So if you're trying to close the distance, say you see like an enemy Baptiste or you see an enemy Zenyatta in front of you, you pin in, cancel your pin, and start swinging on them, right? Also, the fact that you have 2 fire strikes now, it's like if you're able to land those, you're getting a lot of ult charge, you're doing a little bit more damage. They made the fire strikes a bit weaker, but you do have 2 of them now, so keep that in mind. And also, like, just nanoing Reinhardt, like if you have like a good Ana, or like, you know, you're gonna want that speed boost as well. You want a good Lucio and just speed into the enemy team and start swinging for the hills, dude, because you know, if you can build Earth Shatter quickly, boom, you're securing a couple kills with Earth Shatter alone, because most people aren't going to be running shields. Like, think about it. You're going to be playing against, like, maybe like a D.VA. You're going to be playing against, you know, a ROADHOG. You're going to be playing against tanks that don't have shields, because it's 5v5 now. So think about that. Like, you have opportunities to land Earth Shatters a lot more than you think now. So I've been locking in a lot of Reinhardt myself, and I've been popping off. I just hit Grandmasters, so I'm really happy about that. Mostly playing Reinhardt. So we got B tier. I'm going to bring in ORISA. So I think ORISA, this was kind of a hard one for me because I personally haven't been playing too much of her, but I think I could be if I really wanted to, because this hero is actually really strong. Her sustain is, I think, what like kind of separates her from the other tanks. Is like, you are very tanky, you are very sustainable. Like, you have your gold ability if you're in trouble, you know. You have the spinning spear to like move forward and push people back and deflect damage, and then not to mention you have a javelin which you can spear enemies into the wall, which does more damage, you know, kind of knocks them back and kind of like throws off their momentum. And then also you can cancel ults with that. So I think her ult is a little interesting and like hard to find value with, but I think with time people are going to figure out how to use the Terra Surge and kind of close the distance and then actually like get real value with it. So be on the lookout for that. I think ORISA players are on the rise now, and the hero is just more fun in general. So I think ORISA is a hero. It's kind of like an X Factor. It's like very hit or miss. It's like, I've seen ORISA do really well, but I've also seen ORISA just like kind of get rolled over if you're not like smart with your abilities. So I think ORISA is fine to put in like high B tier. I think some people would want to even put her in A, but I'm just a little on the fence about that. So I'll throw her at like, you know, B+, like maybe B flat tier here. Next hero we got is Wrecking Ball. I'm throwing Wrecking Ball in at like middle of the pack B tier. I think Ball is good with certain compositions. If you have like a good Tracer, good Genji, good Sombra on your team, you could lock the Ball and get, you know, and coordinate those dives, right? I've won a decent amount of games this season playing Ball where I get this, you know, get a good Tracer and you set up onto their backline. You go in, you flank, and you roll through their backline and you slam like their Zenyatta, their Ana, and then your DPS follow that up. But the thing is, if you don't have that coordination, then you're very susceptible to like basically like dying very easily or like not really doing much for your team. So you have to make sure your team's on that same page. Sometimes using voice chat's a way to do that, or like, you know, playing with people that will follow up on your plays. So make sure you got that coordination down, and I think Wrecking Ball actually can be pretty strong. So, you know, Ball has his minefield, great at like controlling points, and he's just like very survivable now that Overwatch 2 there's less CC. You're not getting like Brig Bash. Cassidy doesn't have a flashbang anymore. You got to just worry mostly about like honestly, Zenyatta Discord isn't a CC, but it's still very strong, and you will get shredded, right? So be careful about that one. But Ball is just like decent. I wouldn't say it's like amazing, but I think he is a good pick if you have the right comp for it. Is Winston. I'm going to throw him at like B- tier. I think Winston is very hit or miss right now. I think you really want a good Ana player, so you can like utilize, you know, cycling out, getting nano boosted as Winston, going in, taking out their backline, taking out their squishies, you know, and then you farm up that primal rage. I think that is a very good strategy. Although Winston kind of falls short in the fact that like you're not really doing a whole lot of damage in this as this hero. Like, yes, you have a alternate fire, which they did add in Overwatch 2, so you can shoot players at range, although like Winston still doesn't really do a whole lot of damage. So if your DPS are like losing the duels and your DPS aren't really like carrying their own weight, like how can you actually carry as Winston and get those individual kills if you have to? Because like a lot of times your DPS might be you know, losing that 1v1, and then you're like, well, I could go in on their DPS, but they can just run away and then get help. So I think Winston is like good on some maps. I could see him like strong on Watchpoint, Gibraltar, like maps with a lot of high ground, I think is where he really shines. Numbani even. So Dorado is a good one, but he's not like a must pick in my opinion. I think he's decent, but he's like starting to fall a bit short in terms of the tier list. I'm gonna throw in ROADHOG at B- tier. So this one was hard for me because I think Hog is like really struggles the higher SR you go in terms of like Masters and Grandmasters. I think he gets countered pretty easily at that rating, unless you're like a god ROADHOG and your positioning is excellent, you're hitting all your hooks, but not everybody's gonna be doing that. So I think that's why Hog is probably better in lower ranks, just because, you know, you're not getting punished nearly as hard, and if you're hitting like the majority of your hooks, like you're actually gonna do more damage than you would expect. This hero is a little bit underrated, so keep in mind ROADHOG still can like one-shot squishies, right? So that's still like a threat, like no matter what. And then just having the hook is like you are a threat. So keep that, like, I think keep ROADHOG in your back pocket. Like, he's kind of like a good pocket pick, and I don't think he's like near the meta by any means, but you know, I almost wanted to put him in C+ tier because I think sometimes you just feel like you don't do anything on this character, you know. You just kind of just get rolled by like D.VA, rolled by ZARYA, so you got to think about those individual tank matchups as well. But regardless, they did buff ROADHOG. You can use your abilities mid-ultimate now. So if you're in trouble when you pop your ult, you can heal yourself. So that's actually crazy. So don't underestimate ROADHOG's new ult. It's actually pretty good. But then make sure that you don't... I won't say like ROADHOG's like a must pick. So I personally wouldn't be picking him every game. There's just a lot better picks overall, but I still wouldn't completely sleep on this hero. Next up, I'm going to throw in JUNKERQUEEN at C tier. So this one was a little hard as well because I think JUNKERQUEEN can maybe slide into around a B tier, but at the same time, I've seen JUNKERQUEEN feel like and kind of play out as kind of like a borderline throw pick. So JUNKERQUEEN is like a very like, you know, brawly character. You gotta be pretty strong and the ability to hit your knives and like pull targets in, and then, you know, kind of combo off and hit your commanding shout to enable your teammates. I think they kind of nerfed JUNKERQUEEN in the last patch a little too much, which makes her a C tier pick in my opinion. I think her ult is strong. You know, the fact that you can like anti the entire enemy team with the rampage. But I think with a little more tweaking, maybe a little more damage to her kit, I think maybe like shorten the cooldowns on, you know, some of her abilities maybe, potentially. But I just like feel like before she got nerfed, she was broken and she dominated the meta. She was S tier, so she went from S tier to C tier, which is kind of a big jump, and you don't see that too often. So I think the biggest thing for JUNKERQUEEN is, you know, maybe a slight buff, but I wouldn't recommend her in your games personally. You know, she can be good if you're like managing her cooldowns very efficiently, and her sustain is still strong with the commanding shout in general, but I still think there are just way more stronger picks, obviously. So JUNKERQUEEN is decent, but not like a winner in this meta. Last but not least, we got Doomfist coming in at D tier. This is just unfortunate because I thought Doomfist was going to be really fun to play, which I think he could be. although his damage just is so like low. Like you really can't do much other than like disrupt and kind of like set up the engagement as Doomfist, unless you have like really good DPS follow. He's kind of reminds me of like he's like Ball but worse at this point. So if they upped and buffed Doomfist's damage, I think he would be pretty strong, because I thought he was pretty good in the first beta. They nerfed him. Second beta, you couldn't really do anything, and then now at launch, you can't really do anything with him either. He's kind of just, you go in, use your abilities, and you have no way to survive. He just like, his power block is pretty, honestly useless, and you know, you can't really one-shot people with punch anymore, which people like, but it's just like, he's just not good. So I think you can move him up to C or B tier pretty soon if they end up buffing him, but we'll have to see how that goes. You know, his ult is still decent, it's a good escape button, and you can probably get a couple of kills with it within this 5v5 setting. But other than that, I think Doom is just struggling in this meta. I would not recommend in your ranked games unless he gets like a substantial buff, and we'll see. Because I think all the other tanks are pretty viable. It's just like Doom is the one that's like, well, this is like, you just do like no damage. So how are you supposed to carry in your tank role if you're not even like, you know, helping in the damage category whatsoever, which we'll see how that goes. So that'll wrap up this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to try to pump out a lot more Overwatch 2 content on the YouTube channel. But make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And make sure you hop over to my Twitch. I stream consistently almost daily on twitch.tv/joystick. And I hope to see you guys there. Thank you.